All right, everyone, we start off today with some Europe news. Actually, farmer protests are now beginning to expand and spread across the Western European area, originating this time around more in France. That's been going on for a while. And the French methodology is a little bit different from the methodology we've seen in like the Netherlands and Belgium. I remember the tractor protests came to Enschede, actually, at one point. There's a whole line of tractors out there over where the like the center of town is, and I think they had a little parade, basically. People honk their horns and stuff, and it seems that a lot of people are on board with them, and I am too, by and large. In France, there's a different methodology. Mostly they spray manure on government buildings. And I support the idea. I find it funny, and it's not harmful. Like, one thing that I don't really support is blocking traffic. Unless it's around a government building. I don't have a problem with that. The reason why is because, of course, the ambulance can need to come through and can't get through, and then somebody dies of cardiac arrest or something like that, or bleeds out from their injuries when they're attacked by a migrant gang or something. So I don't know how much public support you gain from that. But spraying poo on the government building gets the point across pretty well. I would say that I wish that I could piss off a local farmer and get like 5 tons of manure sprayed on the front of this building. Because I'd be like, yes, my delivery has come. I'd just shovel that shit out in the garden, hose it off, and I would have a great day. It'd take a while to remove it all, but it would definitely be worth it. So maybe I need to pick a fight with Farmer John down the road or something like that. Hey, you piece of shit, I bet you're full of shit. Why don't you give me some of your shit? That'd be sort of my MO. I'm not actually going to do that, but in my wildest dreams, 5 tons of free manure would really help with the garden expansion this year. I support the farmer protests generally. I would point out in the Netherlands, like last year, they had protests over the plan, the WEF-backed plan, the Globalist plan to seize a bunch of farms, tens of thousands of acres of farmland, supposedly to let it go fallow, to fall in line with EU emission standards with regards to nitrogen runoff specifically. I would point out that that's not actually what they wanted. Some of it would be set aside to be fallow, but I guarantee some of that land would be diverted for solar field development. More windmills, which, I mean, it's okay, it's the Netherlands, so windmills fit in more there than elsewhere. But also to build towns and shit. To build medium-density housing, because you've got an overcrowding problem and a housing crunch. But people don't want to live in 12-story sort of Balmermeer-style commie blocks, so they want medium-density housing. Especially since a lot of the people that are coming into the Netherlands, they're associated with banking and things like that. So they're from the middle and upper middle class. They want medium density. They don't want high rises. Nor would the farmers react very well, the ones that are still there, to having a bunch of commie blocks suddenly spring up in their backyard, I'm sure. And so they devised that plan. And it was always bullshit. And I saw through it from day one. I wonder how many Dutch people did as well, that clearly they were not going to let that much land remain fallow. They're trying to squeeze out family farmers that in some cases have been there for 7-8 generations and steal their land from them at bottom dollar in order to build condominiums, effectively. They've tried similar things in parts of the United States. And now you've got protests in Germany. You've got more protests in the Netherlands, where the Tractor Party became the largest legislative party, actually, in the last election. You have in Belgium, they closed the Dutch-Belgian border, actually, the other day. They're burning tires and shit. In open defiance of environmental law. Oh my God, quick, arrest the criminals. I would point out that the heavy-handed response to them protesting, to the farmers, to the people that are actually feeding the goddamn population, and yeah, they don't add as much to GDP, but people literally have to eat in order for them to be able to contribute to GDP. It's a compounding factor. You need food. Those people are treated in a much more heavy-handed manner than groups of people that will block the roads on behalf of Klaus Schwab, or people who beat up cops in broad daylight. It happens in the U.S. now, too. You look at the NYPD case, even Alvin Bragg can't defend that. He's like, well, these perpetrators need to be caught, and there's a miscarriage of justice. It's really, really sad. Well, they were let go of without bail because of policies that were imposed by people like you. So you are fundamentally responsible for that happening. No, they'll get a slap on the wrist. They get released without bail. And try spraying poo on a government building, and you'll end up in a Supermax facility, probably. Although a European Supermax is probably better than the county jail in the United States, and better than the most high-class political prison in a place like Ukraine or Russia. So, at the very least, you get 3 hots and a cot and probably internet access. So probably dial-up, but, it's there. And take to Twitter and protest the conditions under which you're being held. We prisoners demand that they install Fidium, 500 megabytes per second or bust. I support this, though. A lot of people, especially in urban settings, seem to think that food just magically appears on the shelves. They think that food magically grows in cans, that it doesn't require a farmer to raise the meat, the vegetables, the fruit, and pretty much everything else, unless you're going out into the woods and doing the wild harvesting thing, which you can do. It's a national pastime in the Netherlands. Mushrooming is here in New England as well. I like to do that myself. And by the way, you can clean up. If you find a good, nice chunk of chanterelles or morels or something like that, then you've definitely made a good payday. It's not going to take much effort. And I like gardening and stuff like that, but home gardening alone can't feed the population. It's just not feasible. It requires farmers. Disproportionately, especially in Europe, a lot of those farms are still family-owned. It's not like parts of the U.S., especially in the heartland, where a lot of that corn and soybeans and shit like that you see, cereal grains, legumes, especially staple crops, that's factory farm. So Bill Gates owns it or somebody like that. That's a big thing. Seed companies, of course. They have these gigantic aircraft hangar-sized greenhouses and row after row after row as far as the eye can see, just for getting seeds for more crops. I prefer heirloom that's from home gardens myself. But it takes farmers. If it weren't for the Netherlands is the second largest food exporter in the world, by the way. People don't often realize this. There are numerous European countries with very intensive agriculture. The Netherlands does it better, too. They've effectively eliminated their use of pesticides in their farms. I don't know exactly how they did it, but they figured it out. Very recyclable culture, not necessarily with recyclable trash, but certainly with regards to biomass and stuff, they're on a different level infrastructure-wise, as well as parts of the United States. That the corporate agricultural sector can't feed everyone alone, and would you really want that to be the case? Do you want to get your food from somebody 1,000 miles away, or would you like to get it from somebody that's within walking distance of you? I was pissed when Thomas's Dairy closed down. That was right up the road. I always drank their milk. I can go and physically see their farm. It's a 5-minute drive. I can vouch for the fact that the cows are in reasonable conditions. They look healthy. I can go there. I can pet the fucking cow if I want to. I know where the milk is coming from. Therefore, I can vouch for the safety standards involved, and was willing to do so. When I get like vegetables and stuff, I prefer to get it local. Farmer John takes his stand and goes by the side of the road and sells the melons that he grew. There used to be an older dude who lived down the street, like literally 3 houses from here. He had a big garden. He had a stand out in front. He sold big-ass zucchinis and tomatoes and all sorts of cool stuff. And, I'd rather buy those, since I can't grow zucchinis worth a damn, actually. It's funny, the one thing that nobody else ever has a problem with always rots away in the ground before I can harvest much of it. Meanwhile, I can grow very complex crops, and they always do perfectly fine. My grandfather would have been surprised at the size of my peppers. He always got frustrated. He kept planting bell peppers, and they would never really do anything. You're like, God damn these fucking bell peppers. Meanwhile, I put them in, and you get too many of them, and then half of them, I don't know, I'm going to have to give them away or something this year. And again, with the expansion I've got planned, can a French farmer please mail me like 5 tons of cow shit? I wouldn't say no to it if somebody did. The sacre bleu. I support the farm protests, again, in general. The methodology is better or worse, depending on the situation. But the fundamental protest itself is totally justified. These are the people that work their fingers to the bone and get dirt under their fingernails and fucking work 10-hour days, 6 days a week in order to put food on your table that isn't disgusting GMO slop from some of Bill Gates' farms. These are the people that are feeding you the good shit. It should be all family farming. It's not impossible for us to transition the agricultural sector. It would be perfectly efficient. Farming syndicates, that's all you need. And it would be better food. And we don't need GMO. Mexico just stopped buying GMO corn from the United States. They insist on it being heirloom, like not Monsanto food. And it practically crippled some of the farmers down there. Like, what the fuck are we going to do? Because we're not used to growing those varieties anymore. We're not used to needing companion planting and all this. We're used to using GMO seeds, pumping the soil full of nitrate fertilizer, and then, basically going home. We're not used to companion planting and shit. Our methodology can't adapt to it. We're going to have to adapt. There's a growing movement to do that, by the way, which I think is quite positive, and I think it's that the WF really is targeting. I think that the globaloids don't want people producing their food on a significant scale locally and regionally. I think they want to centralize it as much as they can so that they can choke off the food supply if the people protest. Choke it off for this community that's too dissident or something like that. Control who can actually eat. And it'd be easier to control the population when you could just starve them to death. It would be based on their social credit score. You're only allowed to have 2 bananas this week because your social credit score is too low to get that 3rd banana. Not that it matters because they're actually fake bananas made out of crushed mealyworms or something like that with a hint of bananarine in them, but whatever. That's about all. Peace out.